everyone. It's a privilege and an honour to be here, and Sunita is one of those tiger mums because a year ago she was canvassing for me to come along, and I committed to her and I didn't dare let her down. So it's great to be here. I've been invited here to talk about the future of media agencies and our relationships with clients. And again, something that I hear a lot is, are we there yet? And there's been a lot of debate and talk in the industry over the last few years about how data is going to unlock a new era for us, where we're going to be able to have personalised messages targeting individuals, we're going to reduce wastage, increase effectiveness, increase efficiency, and we can all live happily ever after. Are we there yet? No. Are we going to get there anytime soon? No. Is there a single person in this room, because of the development in technology, so smartphones, tablets, emails, social media, laptops, Skype, is there a single person in this room who's actually working less than they used to? Please put your hands up if all that wonderful technology has meant that you're working less. I think most of us realise that that wonderful development in technology, which has allowed us that flexibility, it's not translated into 6 months holiday a year, but if you're anything like me, it's translated into, here I am, answering emails at 11 o'clock at night again. And the point that I'm really trying to make is that when we try to predict the future, we tend to get it ever so slightly wrong. In fact, quite wrong. And we tend to be overly optimistic as well. Consumers aren't interested in advertising. Now, that is a truth, and it's a truth that we don't say out openly. We don't say out loud openly very often, but it is nonetheless a truth. And for every single piece of technology that we develop in order to target consumers and target our customers, there'll be a piece of technology which allows consumers to avoid our advertising. So what I think is really important is that we need to think about how we communicate and why we communicate and what we communicate. We have become really good at bombarding consumers with advertising. At one point, back in the 1970s, the average number of ads that a person's exposed to was 500. Now, we're looking at over 5,000 a day. And there is an issue. When we look at 30 years ago, people paid attention to almost 100% of the ads in a TV break. Now, you're lucky if you get 20% of the ads in a TV break. And it's hardly surprising when we think about the number of messages that we are bombarding consumers with. Those marketeers or those advertisers that lean into the problem, that look at solutions to the problem, rather than relying on data to sort it out, those are the marketeers and the brands that will win. So data trails aren't human beings. They're not. And even if they were, and even if we were able to completely and accurately monitor people's behaviour, and we had an army of robots ready to serve ads, our consumers will equally have their own army of robots ready to block those ads. And if we look at some stats which have come from Global Web Index, in August this year, we have seen the number of ad blocking, the percentage of internet users with ad blocking plugins at 28%. So 28% of all internet users now have ad blocking plugins. Now, don't get me wrong, data is incredibly important. Of course it is. So before I'm misquoted, data is really important. Programmatic buying is a fantastic, wonderful new tool. However, they are not the key to competitive advantage. They're not. That lies where it always has done in terms of better, deeper-rooted consumer understanding. That's the key to competitive advantage. So in my view, the technology that we really need to focus on and watch is the technology which alters consumer behaviour and consumer attitudes, not the development of technology which allows us to talk more often to consumers, but that technology that disrupts and enhances consumer behaviour. So the one thing that we need to prepare for is how unpredictable the future is going to be. And that has a massive impact in terms of how we structure ourselves, in terms of that flexibility and how we work with our clients. Marketing departments absolutely need to be set up to be ready for that unpredictable future and to be working with those media agencies that are future-proofing themselves. And if you're flexible enough, and we're flexible enough, we can still create some amazing work together. So how can we make sure that we are really ready for anything? And how can we make sure that media agencies have and continue to have a great relationship with brands and marketeers? And how can we make sure that we're set up for the constant evolution which will happen in terms of media and will happen in terms of consumer behaviour? Essentially, I think there are three things that we really need to focus on to make sure that we future-proof media agencies and we future-proof communications for our clients' brands. The first area is in terms of what we do, the second is in terms of how we do it, and the third is in terms of the people that we employ to do it. So if we look at what we do, first of all, everything is no longer focused just on paid-for advertising, and we all know this. In principle, we all know this. But there are still some marketeers and agencies that hold on to the notion of cracking the TV ad first, and then everything else will follow. And actually, if you're going to do that, what you should really focus on is cracking the first 3 seconds of an AV format, then letting everything follow. The first 3 seconds before people skip the ad, if that's the area that you're going to still exist in. But that's not how consumers consume anymore, as we know. And it is no longer just about paid-for advertising. It's about an equal balance between paid, owned, and earned. So, like Bruce, I still believe in the power of TV advertising. Absolutely, I do. But I do believe in a balanced communication to make sure that the brand that I am looking after is seen by the consumers in the right place, that I can enhance the message and become part of their story with my brand. And what we really need to make sure that we do is work with our clients to make sure that we are taking some of the hard work away, because marketeers have a number of jobs to do, and media is just one part of that job. And the more complicated consumer behaviour becomes, and the more complicated the media landscape becomes, it puts a lot of pressure on clients. The future media agency and the future of media agencies are those agencies that are able to collaborate. And that's collaboration in terms of client and agency, collaboration in terms of the emphasis and the weight between global and local, and the collaboration between agencies as well. We have moved from a centre of excellence to a network of excellence. There are only 2 people at MediaCom that have a global role on Mars, because we firmly believe, as do Mars, that excellence comes from local people in local markets understanding their consumers, that audience, and the brands. And actually, the best global work comes out of that local market and local insight rather than on top of it. So it's about that network of excellence. And great ideas happen in a market. They can then be shared and spread to other markets if they are deemed successful. As marketeers, I would challenge you to look at your agencies, whether they're media, creative agencies, look at your agencies and look at whether or not you have a talented team of people who lead the industry, who pioneer in the industry, who are asked to comment on developments in the industry, but not just in the trade press, outside of the trade press as well. How are you working with a team of superheroes? And within your own teams, do you have that band of superheroes as well? Do you have that diversity in your own teams and in your own networks? Because I really do think that that knowledge, that creative skill set, the specialist skill set needs to be reflected both agency side as well as client side. The digital natives that I talked about earlier, making sure that we have people in the agency who are actually born in the era of the internet is something which I'm really passionate about, making sure that we have people that understand new technology because they've grown up with it. And in the UK, MediaCom was the first company in the creative industry to actually set up a government-approved apprenticeship scheme. Part of that is about making sure that we get digital natives into the agency, but actually part of that is about making sure that we have the diversity of thinking. As an industry, we tend to just recruit graduates, and with the cost in the UK of going to university spiralling out of control, there is the potential of a talent drought if we are only recruiting graduates, because there's a number of young people that just simply can't afford to go to university. So ensuring that we have non-university people within the agency, but are still smart and talented, really important. But also making sure that we have people from lots of different backgrounds as well. So lots of different ethnic backgrounds and socio-economic backgrounds. And this means that our cultural mix reflects the changing world. Now, it was actually really difficult to get hold of stats for Australia. And how your stats are measured in terms of the advertising industry. In the UK, we are seeing people from a Black, Asian or minority ethnic background. In the UK, it's just over 12% of the advertising industry comes from a BAME background. However, 95% of the industry is based in London, where 40% of the population comes from a Black, Asian or minority ethnic background. Now, I want to eat a Snickers bar just as much as a white male counterpart. So making sure that I have people within my own company that can reflect and build empathy with the people that I want to target is really important, and really important in terms of future-proofing communications. And again, I would challenge you all to look at your own organisations to make sure that you have a population which reflects the world around you. An important point, and one which I'm really proud of, is about women. And it is really pleasing to see I'm not talking to an audience which is just one gender, which is fantastic. Women in the UK represent 80% of the buying power in the UK, and it's incredibly important to make sure that we have an organisation that has women at an influential level within the organisation. So 52% of the agency are female. When we look at senior management roles, that's director level and above, 36%. And then we look at my most senior board, which is the C-suite board, we're looking at 57% female. That is incredibly important because of the purchasing power of women. But the number of clients that I work with where there is a noticeable absence of senior female marketeers is shocking. And I think you get a different viewpoint and a different creative output when you have that diversity within your own organisation. So again, it's something that I would really challenge.